I am Professor Dr Vivek Gupta. I am Senior Cardiologist in Delhi Apollo Hospital. I am sitting here on CSI TV today on 6th of December 2024 during the 76th Cardiological Society of India Annual National Conference in Lucknow in Indira Gandhi Pratishthan, and I am talking about transcatheter aortic valve implantation, TAVI, T-A-V-I. Americans call it TAVR, T-A-V-R. They say transcatheter aortic valve replacement. Actually, it is not a replacement, it is actually implantation. So, this is my favorite topic these days because I worked with Professor Alain Cribier in France from 1996 to 98, and he is the father of this technique of TAVI. He did the first in-man implantation of transcatheter aortic valve through the groin femoral root on 16th April 2002. It is already more than 22 years since this technique was started, the first case was done. More than 1.5 or 15 lakhs patients have been treated worldwide. In India, we started this technique in 2016 or 17 when it was actually cleared by DCGI, Drug Controller, Government of India. It was quite late actually, 15 years post, 14 years post first case. So I used to work with Alain Cribier, who was a fantastic operator, a great man, who did lot of research, innovations. He was the first to do balloon aortic valvuloplasty in 1985, and that was published in the very important journal Lancet. Doing a balloon aortic valvuloplasty versus doing a balloon mitral valvuloplasty, there is a lot of difference. When we are inflating a balloon in the aortic valve, the whole circulation to the body is occluded for that moment. While when you are doing a balloon inflation in the mitral valve, the circulation continues in the aorta, and therefore there is a major difference. And that is why people were really fearful of doing a balloon aortic valvuloplasty in aortic stenosis. So he was the first person in 1985 to do balloon aortic valvuloplasty, and from 1985 to 2002 he had a passion of doing this complex technique. So when he was thinking about this, I remember the day when he was driving a car and I was sitting on his left side. He said, Vivek, I have project of doing a non-surgical valve implantation through the groin. I said, how it is possible? Because it was something unimaginable that a valve can be inserted in the heart from the groin, and that to a reasonably big size valve. So that was a time when he was thinking, and I would like to give you a small historical aspect of this technique. This technique, of course, when you are doing an innovation, you have an idea, you start finding a sponsor. So he approached, along with his team, many established companies, device companies like Edwards and Medtronic, and they rejected the idea in 98, 99 and saying that this is just impossible. Don't pursue this technique or this evolution. It is never possible. It is insane, crazy, forget it. So this was the mail which Dr. Cribier received. Finally, he made a startup. He made his own company with Martin Leon, and he found an Israeli engineer who devised this valve. And this valve, there were a lot of animal experimentation before putting into the human being. So I was told by Elian El-Sharinov, who was number 2 at that time in Rua in Hospital Charles Nicolle, where I was working, that more than 100 animal experimentations were done before they thought that this is a valve is fit to be done in the human being. And that was time in 2002, 16th April, he did the first case on a dying patient on cardiogenic shock. Patient had a post-bypass surgery, very poor ejection fraction, the blood pressure was not maintainable, and he did a successful first in man. And that day he became further another hero because this was thing. So this technique, I want to tell you, is actually is done for the severe degenerative aortic stenosis, which is very common now after the age of 70, 75. The aortic valve degenerates and it leads to narrowing of the aortic valve, which supplies the whole blood to the whole body. and this normally is treated by surgical aortic valve replacement. But with elderly age, the surgical aortic valve replacement becomes quite risky, and the surgeon to avoid treating this patient because there is a possibility of sudden cardiac death or cardiac death during the post-operative period. So these patients generally die without being treated because medicines don't work. So he devised this idea and he did it first time, and from 2002 to 2005-7 it became CE mark, means European government allowed it to be marketed, and 2012 it was FDA approval, that means Americans, they were allowed to be treated, and after that there were a lot of trials. There are two types of valve available, self-expanding, and there is another is a balloon expandable. So Edwards is making a balloon expandable, which of course was devised by Dr. Alan Crebier. Side by side, somebody started doing a evolution or innovation for the self-expanding valve, and now this technique is a life-saving technique, and these days surgical aortic valve replacement is done only when TAVI is not indicated. Before, TAVI was indicated when surgical aortic valve replacement was not possible to do. So it's just opposite. Earlier, surgical valve replacement should be done, TAVI should be done when surgical valve replacement was not possible. Now, surgical valve replacement should be done when TAVI is not possible. So I thank Dr. Alan Crebier for giving such a big revolutionary technique by his own innovation, and now this transcatheter aortic valve implantation is being done by many people all over the world, including India. Thank you very much. I am Dr. Vivek Gupta from Delhi Apollo Hospital talking about TAVI.